Labour government to take us through this time. And how do you promote growth and investment? We promote through education, through investment and through savings. And our key legacy policy has been KiwiSaver, and 827,000 proud Kiwi workers are in KiwiSaver, and they want KiwiSaver to support our economy, and the National Party have gone and wrecked it, and they've gone and cut it in half, and that's disgusting in a time like this. I'm really embarrassed by that.
The way the Greens would help you is firstly to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which will raise all of the wage levels. And secondly, our tax policy, which isn't a tax cut because you need the total government revenue the same, particularly when you're moving into a recession, but we have a tax shift which would take make the first $10,000 of income completely tax-free, which would help the poorest people the most, and gain that tax by a set of eco-taxes, which taxes the use of scarce resources or polluting industries to retain the tax revenue. And we would look after the economic future of your children by dealing seriously with questions of climate change, which are going to affect the future of your children and your grandchildren, and adapting to an economy where oil is going to be much dearer than it presently is because the world's running out. With public transport, Rodney Hyde. With public transport being important for that.
Okay, Rodney Hyde.
Suzanne, the trouble is this: for the last 10 years, government spending has almost doubled. What that means is, over and above inflation, your family is being squeezed by $230 a week that the government is taking extra that it wasn't taking 10 years ago. That's why you're struggling. Here's what we need to do. Yes, we're going to have some hard times because costs are going to go up because the dollar's going to fall. We need to cap the growth in government expenditure and actually allow you to have more money. If we don't get expenditure under control, then you're going to miss out. The second thing that we need to do is we need to get rid of the dopey red tape that is strangling business in this country. And the third thing that we need to do is we need to dump the emissions trading scheme that is going to put your costs through the roof, make it harder for every business, the businesses that employ you, for no environmental gain whatsoever. It's got to go.
Well, OK, Susan, you've seen your way through the women policies. Who do you believe?
I'd just like to thank Auntie Helen for giving me Working for Families. Thanks.
Suzanne, I need to say in response to that, Suzanne, that Working for Families will continue under National. And there will not be change to that system.
Until they cut it, until next year when they get rid of it, and KiwiBank and KiwiSaver and cut everything else.
One of the problems with Working for Families, and the Greens have supported it, is it leaves beneficiaries out in the cold. The benefits are at a lower level than before Ruth Richardson cut them in 1991. The Labor government has not brought them up, and if you get a Green Labor government, we will make sure the benefit levels are increased to an average.
Do you know what I find quite sad?
Richard Worth, you've just stood and you've defended Working for Families. Why did John Key, your leader, say a few years ago that he opposed Working for Families with every bone in his body?
He doesn't know what he believes in.
Well, we've had a hard look at Working for Families, and the issue really is that there are so many people subject to that regime now that it would be unfair to alter it. And we can see that there is an intrinsic merit in it.
No, because it's a visionary policy. What we need now is people who have vision, who can take us through the tough times, and it's not coming from National.
If this tax cut regime, which National plans, is implemented in the way we propose, that it may be appropriate for it to be looked at, but we plan to continue it.
Rodney Hyde, do you have the vision to see us through tough times?
Do you know what I think is sad about your comment, Susan, is that you feel the need to thank Auntie Helen simply for getting to keep the money that you earn in the first place. That's what I find absurd. And I'll tell you what I believe that we're better off allowing you to keep what you earn rather than have the government take it and then hand it back, and we feel the need to thank the Labor Party, because I think ultimately it's far better to keep the money that you earn in the first place. It's not a bad place to start.
And do you, And do you, Richard Worth, agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree.
So you think tax cuts could become more important than working for families?
Tax cuts are a central part of National's policy in a number of contexts, one of which is to encourage New Zealanders to stay in New Zealand, or alternatively from people offshore
extra
to
a week,
return.
which is hardly going to be about
$15
for middle-income earners. As a latte, it's not shares, it's not investment in New Zealand.
Much more.
Tax cuts will undermine the government revenue, and when we need a huge amount to build a decent public transport system for this city,
that's wrong
and
too.
we need to
enable substantial
Do you know what's undermined?
across a range of asset classes.
Undermined government revenue? The fact that it's this. No, I tell you this.
No.
It's because our economy is smaller now than it was at the start of the year. That's what being in a recession means. All funding is undermined if we don't grow a bigger economy. It's all very well for everyone to sit there and you can yell and scream about who should be getting what money, but unless we grow the economy, if we get a shrinking economy like we have now, like we have next year, there's going to be no funding for anything. That's why the Labor government has had to admit to a mini budget in December where they cancel all their promises.
Where are you going to get the money? Where's Rodney going to get the money to build his prisons for his law and order policy if he's reducing taxes at the same time that in a recession the tax take is reducing, and yet Rodney wants to build all sorts of...
I just want to give a bit of a breather from the panel.
We have a change of government.
Excuse me, Rodney. Sit from you, Wallace.
Government that gave it to us.
Okay, Wallace.
Well, let me know. Instead of shouting, let us know if you've got some questions. Hands up. Now, we've got a question here about the economy, but particularly about railways from the at-quarter.
I'd like the candidates to comment about the purchase of the railway because of the fact that the new high cube containers that are going to be loaded onto these trains and they won't fit through the tunnels. How are you going to pay for that to fix that problem?
Under the leadership of Helen Clark and Michael Cullen know that the most important thing to do at a time like this is help Kiwis to save and make sure that we invest. And part of that investment strategy has been bringing the railway back into Kiwi ownership, and Kiwis are incredibly proud of Kiwi Rail. And it's been one of the legacy policies of the Labor government. Thank you, Helen Clark.
What about the high cube containers that are going to be the only ones you can use?
I accept that the railway has been run down, there's problems with the tracks and the tunnels, etc. That is because of the policies of Roger Douglas and Ruth Richardson that privatised rail, and we're just getting it back on track now, and we're going to have to spend a huge amount of money, and that's why it's so stupid to go for major tax cuts at the present time. We need to get our railway up to scratch.
Look, it says a lot about the economic thinking of this lot over here, that giving $700 million to the Australians is considered an investment in New Zealand. That is nuts.
It's investing in our infrastructure because your mates ran it down in the 1990s.
How does giving $700 million to the Australians constitute an investment in New Zealand? I don't get it. Do you, Kate?
Well, Rhoda, let's have the Greens have a say. Here we go. You've got a question, sir.
The New Zealand Herald, that priceless national asset, has suggested that GST rise to 15%. That is a very serious issue. I want the candidates tell me and the audience whether they're in favour of that or not, if I can believe them.
Okay, it wasn't actually the New Zealand Herald, it was Price Waterhouse who brought that up. Very quick response, Richard.
John Shearn said two things on behalf of that accounting firm. He predicted the price of GST would raise to that number. He also said that the rate of tax would significantly go up. National will not increase the rate of GST. We do not believe any of his predictions.
The Green Party is certainly committed not to increase the rate of GST, and when you walk into a shop, we also want proper labelling on